With me now to talk about this case, we've got private investigator Vito Colucci, criminal defense attorney Pamela Davis, and maritime attorney Charles Lipcon. Let me begin with you, Vito. Talk about this investigation. Talk about the congressional investigation that's coming up. Do you think that can do anything to help us figure out what really happened to George on the night of July the 4th?
I think, Joe, it's going to help more for anything in the future. Kudos to Congressman Shays, my congressman from Connecticut. I think it's great that he's going forward to this. I don't know how much it's going to help this case. I think it's back in the spotlight again after these hurricanes. I have all the confidence still in the Connecticut FBI. I've dealt with them since I was an undercover organized crime cop. I deal with them now as a private detective, and they are really good, the Connecticut office.
Pam, why now? The investigation's moving forward. The congressman's stepping forward into the fray. Do you think this could make a difference in moving the investigation forward, putting pressure on all parties involved?
I think it's a perfect opportunity to put a little more pressure on the investigation that's going on. You know, a lot of things have been happening and taking it out of the spotlight, and I think for the family, it is important that we have a congressman stepping forward and saying, you know, don't lose sight of this and keep the pressure on. And I think the earlier segment talked about the fact that there is likely evidence out there that we don't know about, and the FBI has likely been pursuing this the whole time. But it is good that it's back in the spotlight, and you know, Congress is going to be hopefully taking a look at it.
You know, Charles, the family talked about how they believe that cruise lines should have an obligation to protect their people. Talk about that aspect of this case. The fact that so many people die or disappear or apparently are raped on these cruise lines, and yet from what we've heard from guests in the past, so few of them ever seem to be brought to justice. So many of the aggressors.
Well, I think you have to give a lot of credit to the family here to try and bring something good out of this terrible tragedy that has occurred. And because it's in the spotlight with the media, and with all of this attention, this is the great opportunity to actually move it forward. Once before it was brought up in Congress and it went nowhere. And I'm very hopeful that this time something really can be done that will help people in the future avoid this type of heartache. I think you just have to take your hat off to this family in the depth of the tragedy that's occurred to them, to think about other people. And that shows you what kind of family that this really is.
No doubt about it, Charles. And of course, it's got to be heartbreaking. I'll ask our panel to stand by. It's got to be heartbreaking. You consider again, this is his 27th birthday. 27th birthday today. Terrible for the parents. I can tell you, though, for me, I'm so glad the family stepped forward, because they want to start holding the cruise lines accountable for the fact, again, that when something happens on a ship, you just don't have the same protections that you'd have if it happened on a plane or if it happened at a resort on land somewhere. Now, we're going to come back to our panel when Scarborough Country returns and have a lot more on the case of George Smith IV and the congressional investigation that may crack this case wide open. That's coming up when we return. Let's bring back our panel right now, and I want to go to Pamela Davis. Pamela, what strikes you the most about the family statement released today on his 27th birthday?
I think that for me, it shows that the family is finally able to deal a little bit with the pain and the suffering and this tragedy that they've gone through. And I realize that there'll be some cynical people out there who think that maybe they're making a public statement because there's some civil lawsuit pending in the future. But, you know, from a legal perspective for myself, I think it's the family is ready to come out and to, you know, accept that this tragedy is a public moment, and that, you know, they would like to have some assistance, and they would like Congress to, you know, step up and to assist in this process.
All right, thanks so much, Pamela. Greatly appreciate it. Vito, thank you. Charles, as always, appreciate you being in Scarborough Country. And friends, you can make a difference. Email us at joe.msnbc.com. We're going to have the congressman leading the investigation on tomorrow night. We're going to take your questions, give it to him, help this family ease their pain, end their suffering, and get answers. What happened to their 27-year-old son? We'll be right back in a minute.